Here is a painful truth. Everything you consider real, your house, your body, your memories, even this moment as you hear these words, is nothing more than an elaborate projection of your own consciousness, a hologram, a simulation. You are simultaneously the dreamer, the dream, and the one who awakens within the dream. This is not a New Age fantasy or a philosophical daydream. It is the most radical revelation ever contemplated by the human mind, a truth that spans millennia and cultures, echoing from the sacred temples of ancient India to the most sophisticated laboratories of contemporary quantum physics. 5,000 years ago, the Vedic sages whispered a word that contained within it the secret of all existence. Maya. Not just a word, but the explanation for why you feel separate from the universe, why you seek outside what you already have within, why happiness always seems like a day in the future that never arrives, like a mirage in the desert. Maya is not simply illusion. It is the very mechanism through which the one consciousness fragments itself into infinite individual experiences, creating the great cosmic comedy where each actor forgets they are acting and believes they are the character. In this moment, as you process these words, quantum waves are collapsing into solid particles only because you are observing them. Your brain is constructing a three-dimensional reality from two-dimensional electrical impulses. Your mind is creating a coherent self from trillions of cells that constantly renew themselves. Have you ever wondered who the true observer is behind your eyes? Who is the one that remains constant while your thoughts, emotions, and sensations flow like clouds in the sky of consciousness? The ancients knew something that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. The reality we perceive is a cooperative construction between consciousness and cosmos, a cosmic theater where each soul plays the role of an individual life, temporarily forgetting its infinite nature. This is the story of Maya, the sacred illusion that allows the one to experience itself as many, the eternal to live time, the infinite to know itself through the finite. It is the story of how you, being pure consciousness, can forget yourself so completely that you desperately seek to return to what you never ceased to be. Prepare to question everything you consider solid and to discover the freedom that exists in recognizing the illusory nature of the prison you believe you're in. To understand Maya, we must return to the origins, when humanity still kept its eyes open to mysteries we now call impossible. In the Vedas, the oldest texts of humanity, we find the first systematic description of this force that weaves apparent reality. The Rig Veda speaks of Maya as the creative power of Indra, the god who uses his magical art to manifest worlds. But this was not magic in a fanciful sense. It was the understanding that reality emerges through a creative process that transcends ordinary logic. In the Upanishads, particularly the Mandukya, Maya is revealed in its deepest dimension. The text describes 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and turiya, the 4th state, which is pure awareness witnessing the other 3. For consciousness in turiya, all other states are equally illusory, temporary projections on the eternal screen of awareness. Shankara, the great Vedanta master, explained Maya through a luminous analogy. A man walks at night and sees a snake on the ground. His heart races. His body recoils in fear. Only when he approaches with a lantern does he discover it was a rope. The snake never existed, but the fear was absolutely real. The rope was always there, but was temporarily obscured by mental projection. So it is with Maya. It is not that the world is false, but that our perception of it is colored by fundamental ignorance of our own nature. We see multiplicity where there is unity, separation where there is connection, mortality where there is eternity. The Bhagavad Gita reveals Krishna explaining to Arjuna, "This divine Maya of mine, composed of the three gunas, is difficult to transcend. Those who take refuge in me surpass this Maya." But Maya is not exclusive to Hindu tradition. Buddhists speak of samsara, the cycle of conditioned existences, where the mind creates suffering through identification with the impermanent. Taoism describes the phenomenal world as the eternal dance between yin and yang, polarities that exist only in dualistic perception. Christian Gnostics taught that the material world was an illusion created by the demiurge, a limited consciousness that believed itself the true creator. For them, spiritual awakening was recognizing the divine spark beyond this illusory creation. What all these traditions realized is that there is a fundamental difference between reality and apparent reality. Water does not disappear when it becomes vapor. It merely changes form. Consciousness does not disappear when it manifests as the world. It merely temporarily forgets its unitary nature. The Hermetic principle of mentalism teaches that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This means that all manifestation is a mental projection of the Absolute, a cosmic thought form in the divine mind. We, as fragments of that mind, actively participate in the creation of reality through our observation and intention. This understanding brings us to the threshold of an even deeper revelation. If Maya is the power through which consciousness creates the experience of separation, then understanding Maya is the first step toward transcending it, not by denying the world, but by recognizing its true nature. We now arrive at the most extraordinary moment of this journey, when modern science inadvertently confirms what mystics have always known. In the 20th century, quantum physics shattered our belief in solid and objective reality, revealing a universe that functions exactly as the Vedic sages described Maya. Werner Heisenberg, one of the fathers of quantum mechanics, stated, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." In other words, there is no reality independent of the observer. The very act of observation participates in the creation of what is observed. The double-slit experiment demonstrates something that should be impossible by ordinary logic. An electron passes through both slits simultaneously until it is observed. Then it decides which slit it passed through. The particle exists in all possibilities simultaneously, quantum superposition, until the observing consciousness collapses this multiplicity into a single experience. David Bohm, physicist and consciousness scholar, proposed that all reality emerges from an implicate order, an unmanifest field of pure potentiality that unfolds into manifest reality through a process of enfolding and unfolding. This implicate order is indistinguishable from what Vedanta calls Brahman, the non-dual absolute reality from which all forms emerge and into which all dissolve. Schrödinger, creator of the fundamental equation of quantum mechanics, deeply studied the Upanishads and declared, "The unity and continuity of Vedanta are not mere postulates of Western science, but are the most immediate of experiences." He recognized that consciousness is not a product of matter, but that from which the appearance of matter emerges. The hard problem of consciousness in neuroscience reveals something fascinating. We can't find consciousness in the brain because we're looking in the wrong place. It's like looking for the dreamer inside the dream. The dreamer is beyond the dream, though it is the substrate upon which the dream appears. In parallel, Carl Jung discovered that the individual psyche is connected to a collective unconscious, a field of archetypes and universal patterns that transcends personal experience. This revolutionary discovery emerged from his clinical observations, where Jung noticed that patients from different cultures and backgrounds displayed surprisingly similar symbols, dreams, and fantasies, even without any prior cultural contact. The collective unconscious, according to Jung, constitutes a deeper layer of the human psyche, shared by all humanity and inherited through our evolution as a species. The archetypes that inhabit this collective unconscious are primordial patterns of human experience, universal forms that manifest in myths, religions, fairy tales, and the art of all civilizations. Figures such as the Great Mother, the hero, the wise old man, the shadow, and the self appear consistently in human narratives, suggesting that our psyche operates according to fundamental structures that transcend cultural specifics. These archetypes are not abstract concepts, but dynamic forces that deeply influence our behaviors, emotions, and how we interpret reality. Jung realized that what we call the I, our everyday ego consciousness, is just a small island of awareness floating in a much vaster ocean of objective psyche. The ego, though necessary for our functionality in the world, represents only the tip of the iceberg of our mental life. Beneath this conscious surface operate autonomous psychic forces that shape our experience in ways we are often unaware of. True psychological maturity, therefore, involves not only knowledge of oneself as an individual, but also recognition of our participation in universal patterns of human experience that connect us to all humanity. Now, speaking of material reality, the Kybalion teaches the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Science confirms that what appears solid is, in fact, energy vibrating at different frequencies. A diamond and a cloud are the same energy expressing in distinct vibrational patterns. But the deepest revelation comes when we understand that we ourselves are both the observer and the observed. There is no real separation between subject and object. There is only the play of consciousness appearing to divide itself in order to experience itself as multiplicity. This is Maya in its subtlest expression. Not just the illusion that external objects are solid, but the illusion that there is an internal I separate from those objects. Both observer and observed are temporary modifications in the one consciousness, different vibrational variations of the same thing. We are waves in the eternal ocean of being. When Einstein discovered that time and space are relative to the observer, he inadvertently confirmed the Vedic teaching that Kaila, time, and Desha, space, are aspects of Maya, mental constructs that enable the sequential experience of what is, in essence, eternal and infinite. Quantum mechanics reveals that particles are entangled, instantly connected regardless of distance. This echoes the Upanishadic teaching that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is, in truth, Brahman. Separation is only apparent. Connection is the foundation of all. We now arrive at the most crucial crossroads of this journey. What to do with this revelation? What do you do now that you know reality as we perceive it is a construction of consciousness? How do you live knowing that we are literally inside a matrix? The answer is not in denying the world, but in understanding its true purpose. Maya is not a cosmic error or a trap we must escape. It is the method through which infinite consciousness experiences itself subjectively. Without Maya, consciousness would remain as pure potentiality, never knowing the joy of discovering itself, the beauty of loving itself, the adventure of losing and finding itself again. Vedanta teaches that there are three levels of reality: Paramarthika, absolute; Vyavaharika, empirical; and Pratibhasika, apparent. Last night's dream has Pratibhasika reality. It was real during the dream but loses substance upon waking. The waking world has Vyavaharika reality. It is functionally real within its own parameters. Only Brahman has Paramarthika reality, absolute and unconditional existence. Understanding this does not mean treating the world as fantasy. On the contrary, it means recognizing that even this illusion is sacred. because it is consciousness itself manifesting. When Ramana Maharshi was asked about the reality of the world, he replied, "The world is real. Only its interpretation as something separate from consciousness is illusory." Jung discovered that individuation does not require abandoning personality, but consciously integrating it with the transpersonal self. The ego does not disappear. It becomes a transparent instrument through which the self expresses in the world of forms. In alchemy, this is called solve et coagula, dissolve to recreate. We dissolve rigid identification with limited forms to consciously recreate ourselves as flexible expressions of the one consciousness. We do not cease being people. We become people aware of our essential nature. Consciousness remains fully present in the world, but no longer confuses itself with the modifications that appear in it. This awakening is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of remembrance. Maya is convincing precisely because we are the ones creating it. It's like an actor so talented that he convinces even himself he is the character. Awakening is remembering that we are the actor, not denying the character. In practical life, this manifests as a fundamental lightness. Problems still appear, but they lose their existential weight. Emotions still arise, but no longer define us. Thoughts still flow, but no longer imprison us. We live fully engaged, yet remain fundamentally free. All the sages of the past are pointing to the same truth. You are much vaster than you imagine, much freer than you believe, much more connected than you feel. The journey is not to some distant place, but inward. Maya is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. Through it, you learn what you are not to discover what you are. Through the experience of limitation, you recognize your unlimited nature. Through the game of forgetting, you experience the joy of remembering. This is the supreme irony of existence. You are trying to escape a prison that exists only in your imagination. You are simultaneously the prisoner, the prison, the key, and the freedom. Maya is the veil that hides this truth, and paradoxically, the very means by which it can be discovered. Awakening within the dream is not abandoning human life, but living it as the sacred dance it has always been. Every encounter becomes a reunion between aspects of the same consciousness. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to remember who you truly are. Every moment becomes a doorway to the eternal. Now you know the secret whispered by sages through the millennia. You were never born and will never die, because you are life itself, manifesting temporarily as human form. Maya is your cosmic disguise, and also your invitation to the most glorious awakening imaginable, to discover that you are both the seeker and the sought, both the question and the answer, both the path and the destination. If all of this touched something inside you, a deep intuition, a forgotten memory, or simply a strong desire to go beyond appearances, then perhaps it's time to take the next step. The illusion of Maya may be dense, but there are ancient maps that help us cross it, and one of them is now within your reach. For all those who wish to unlock the full power of the mind and dive into the 7 laws that govern the inner universe, the book, The Master Key, is available in the description of this video. It's not just a book, it's the key that will unlock every door of the Temple of Mysteries. If you're ready to open that door, the key is now in your hands. Link below. Welcome to the discovery of your true nature.